Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? Hopefully you can. So my name is Kathy Campbell. I'm one of the secondary ELA specialists with Academic Services. And tonight we're going to go over just a couple of strategies that you all can use at home to help your child achieve reading in their ELA classrooms and in their reading classrooms. So we're going to go over the Achieve 3000 program. This is the program that your students use in and out of school. Hopefully it's not a new program for you all. Most of your students, if they are in middle or high school, have been using it since elementary school. We're going to go over some of the new updates to the Achieve 3000 program, and then we're going to talk about some ways that you can help your child at home when it comes to reading. So let's get started. Let's go over our agenda. The first thing we're going to talk about is ways that you can help your child at home. Then we're going to go over the 4 W's and 1 H of the program Achieve 3000. We're going to talk about what a Lexile is. I'm sure your students have come home talking about their Lexile levels or their Lexile scores, and then why we actually use the program Achieve 3000. Again, this program has been in our district for a very long time, so we're going to talk about why it's a proven method for helping your students achieve reading. Some more ways that you can help your child at home, and then we're going to look at some strategies from the state of Florida that are called the Just Take 20. So the first thing we want to talk about is how you, your family, your parents, or anyone who is around can help your student become a better reader. The first thing is to talk to your children and expose them to a variety of words. So the more you talk to your child, just in everyday conversation, the more they are exposed to words. Typically, when you talk to your children, you're using vocabulary that is native to you. So you're using a lot of adult language. The more words that they are exposed to, the better their vocabulary comes. The next thing is to ask them questions. Typically, when they come home from school, you're asking them questions about how their day went, what happened at school, who did they see, what did they do, what did they eat. Allowing them to elaborate on these conversations and use some academic vocabulary would be a great way to help them become readers. So when you ask them, like, what did you do in science class? Don't just let them say, oh, we did work or we did a lab. Like, give me some of the vocabulary that you use. Tell me about the lab that you did. What is a word that you learned today? So just really just allowing them to elaborate on what it is that they want to talk about, it expands the vocabulary. Again, the more they read, the more they talk, the more words they are exposed to. The next thing is make reading a regular activity. So a lot of times we as adults, we read, it may be on our phones or on our tablet or in a book, but if that becomes a family activity, they are exposed to more words. So it may be like for 30 minutes on Tuesday afternoons, we all sit around and we read. Or it could be like on Saturday mornings, we all go to the library or whatever it is. It's just making it a regular activity so that they know that reading is essential and it's important for their education. Model reading for leisure again. So if they see you read, they are going to read. If they never see you read anything, then they're never going to want to read anything. And allow them to select the reading that they want to do. A lot of times in school, they are assigned a book or assigned an Achieve article or assigned some sort of thing that they have to do. But outside of school, allow them to select the reading that they want to do. A lot of students are into like graphic novels or comic strips, or there's something online I'm sure that they are interested in. Allow them to have that choice and that autonomy to select what they want to read, as long as they are reading something. It could be like a sports magazine or some sort of like fashion blog or something, whatever it is they want to do. Allow them to do it as long as they are reading. And then encourage activities that require reading. So again, if they're going to do something online, if they're going to be on Instagram, if they're going to be on these social media websites, there's a lot of times there are longer articles that they can read, or there are blog spots that they can read. Just encourage those activities. Something else could be as you are like going through the neighborhood, or if you're at the mall or at the Walmart or whatever it is, start reading those words out loud that you see, because a lot of times students don't know what those words are. They don't know how to say those words. So just, if I see a word, I'm going to say a word, because it exposes them to more vocabulary. So you don't have to answer this question. Just think about what are some other ways that you can help your student when it comes to reading. Because remember, whatever it is that you do, they are going to do. If they never see you reading and they never see you just doing anything, then they're not going to do anything. I'm going to answer your question in just a second. That's a good question about the Achieve 3000 password. All right, so let's talk about this program, Achieve 3000. We have 4 W's and 1 H with it. So what is Achieve 3000? It is a research-based nonfiction reading program that gives each student informational and fictional articles at their own unique reading level. The program adapts as the students demonstrates comprehension, providing differentiated instruction online instruction. So essentially what it is by now most of your students have already taken what is called a level set. They take that at the beginning of the year, and it's a short, probably about 20 to 30 question assessment on their reading level, and it gives the students a Lexile level. And in a minute, we're going to talk about what that number means. So based on whatever that number is, they get articles that are at their level. Now, a lot of times our students are not going to be reading at their grade level, so they're going to be reading articles at the level that they test at. So typically, let's think about like if I'm in 7th grade, I could be reading articles that are at a 2nd or 3rd grade level, and then my questions are going to be at that level as well. But my goal is the more I read and the more I do the strategies that come with Achieve 3000, I'm going to be able to move up to my appropriate grade level. So you and I could all be in the same class, and I'm going to be reading articles at my grade level. The person sitting next to me could be reading articles at another grade level. So it just depends on whatever level you are. The more you do achieve, the more articles you get correct, your score rises higher and higher. So in 1 month, I could be at like a 750. I get 4 articles and I get all the questions right. The next month, hopefully my Lexile level has moved up to like an 820, and that's just an arbitrary number. But then my articles are going to get a little more difficult, but it'll be at my appropriate level. So where can Achieve 3000 be accessed? It can be accessed at home and at school. So most of the time your students are going to do their Achieve 3000 articles at school. So they usually are doing them in their ELA, their reading classes, sometimes their social studies classes or their science classes. If your students are in some sort of after school activity like Team Up or Extended Day, they will typically do some Achieve 3000 articles there, but they can definitely do them at home as well. We encourage your students to do these Achieve 3000 articles at home. I always say if your kids come home and say that they have no homework, they always have homework. They can always do Achieve 3000. There are thousands and thousands of articles online that they can do, and they add new ones every week. So I believe it's Sunday, they add new articles, and you can just search based on whatever topic it is they want to talk about or they want to read about that day. If they're into sports, they can put in football. If they're into science, they can put in whatever the science topic is. If they want to learn about history, and even now, they've added some fiction articles as well. So if they want to read about something or they want to read some kind of sort of fiction story about history or about sports, they can read those as well. So they can access it at home and at school. And then, of course, the win, typically they start off in the ELA class, but some of your students will do Achieve 3000 in social studies and in science. And usually the ELA class is the one where it's counted the most for the grade.
And do students, even in the DVIA program, have access to this?
They do, as long as their school, if it's DVIA through Duval County, then yes, they have access to it.
Okay.
And if they don't have a password, we can talk about it afterwards to get with their administrator to make sure that they have the passwords.
Okay.
Because they should be logging on through Blended Learning, and that's the icon on their desktop. So they log in through Blended Learning, and then they have access to Achieve 3000.
May I ask a quick question, please?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
I had posted that, and we've done Achieve 3000 forever, and we have kids in college that have done it. So it's an incredible program, and the scores just went up tremendously. I mean, I made her do it ritually, like you were saying. But now that we're in the Duval Instructional Virtual Academy this year, we go to Blended Learning, the Achieve icon is there, we click on it and we cannot get in. And she asked her new ELA teacher, and she was unaware of how to obtain access to get back into that program.
Okay. I don't know the exact answer to that, but I can definitely check into it. So before we get off this call this afternoon, I'm going to give you my information and I'm going to get yours, and I want to check into that as soon as I get to work in the morning, because they should have access to all the same platforms, because it's still Duval County. Duval County is paying for the program. So just
Okay.
make sure that you don't hang up and I don't hang up, and then we exchange our information.
I appreciate it.
No
Thank
problem.
you. And again, accolades for this program. It's
Yeah,
just tremendous. So thank you.
yeah, no problem. Any other questions before we go on? Feel free to take yourself off mute.
There's one in the chat that
Okay.
they're asking, is there a way to access the program without being a DCPS student? Their child is currently in private school, but is transferring to public for in middle or high school. And they just think that it would benefit them to be familiar with it ahead of time.
As far as Achieve 3000, no, because it's a program that the district itself pays for. So once they transfer over to Achieve 3000, then they can get access to it. But the company that owns Achieve 3000 also owns another program. It's called Actively Learn, and it is free. There's like a paid part where the teacher may put you in, but there's also some free parts to it. And I'm going to, give me just a second, I'll type it into the chat. I believe it is just like activelylearn.com. And that is this, it's the program is set up very similar to Achieve. It's free. All the articles are free, and the questions are free as well. So if you are not in Duval County yet and you just want something that they can practice with, I highly suggest Actively Learn, because it's the same setup where they read, they answer questions, and there's actually, I believe, for Actively Learn, our high school students in reading use it, but I like to Actively Learn because it's a little more like current events. So usually like whatever is happening in the world, or especially the United States, if you go and Actively Learn within like a day or two, they have an article already set up for it or already posted for it. So between Achieve 3000 and Actively Learn, and this is even good for students who are in Duval County, because again, our students have been doing Achieve 3000, most of them since third grade. They may feel like, okay, I'm overachieved, I've done it enough. Put them on Actively Learn, although it may not count for a grade for their teacher, but if you just want them to have more practice when it comes to reading, it's a similar program, but they have a lot of different articles as well. So between Achieve and Actively Learn, those are the two programs that I suggest for parents to use at home. Any other questions? These are good questions. All right, I'm going to keep going. If you have questions, again, feel free to put them in the chat or to just take yourself off mute. All right, so our why is the Achieve 3000 allows teachers, students, and parents to track student progress towards raising Lexile levels and improving reading stamina. So again, this is a program that the district has provided that is going to track their reading program. The state of Florida requires that we track students' reading. This is the program that we have decided to use because it is a proven program that has worked for years. And for the most part, students enjoy it. They know how to use it, and it's an easy way for them to get on, read, answer questions, and there's a lot of reading strategies that they can do along with it. And then the how is the Lexile scores improve by slowly increasing the complexity of the text to grow students' reading levels. And then questions are aligned to the Florida state standards. And from a teacher standpoint, having the questions that look similar to the way that they're going to look on the FSA is very important, because you can go online to a lot of just free reading websites and it's just reading comprehension, which is great, but they're not going to see questions that look like the ones they're going to take the test on. So I love Achieve because the types of questions that they give the students are very, very similar to the types of questions that they're going to see on the FSA. So like there's a website called ReadWorks, which is, if you just type in like reading comprehension practice, is one of the first ones that comes up. It's great, but all the questions are multiple choice. For the FSA, all the questions are not going to be multiple choice. They're going to have multi-select questions where they have to select like 2 answers. They're going to have questions where they have to fill in charts, and they're going to have questions where they have to do like a 2-part question, or where they have to create a box or whatever it is. They're going to practice those questions on Achieve, so that way when they get to the FSA, it's not the first time that they've seen those questions. And the fact that they're doing on the computer and they take the test on the computer also helps a lot. So we really like Achieve because it is very similar to what they're going to see on the actual FSA test, which is they're going to take at the end of the school year. All right, so reading level expectations. So again, most of your students usually have told you, or you talked about what their Lexile scores are. This chart just kind of gives you an idea of where they should be. So if your students are in like middle school, 6th to 8th grade, their reading level should be at about a 925 to 1185. And remember, that's a large range. If it's below, it's okay. Just know that we have a goal to get up to that. If it's higher than that, then that's great. And again, if your students are in high school, you have a range from about 1050 all the way to a 1385, which is like at that college level. So those are very high levels. But as long as your students are working towards something, they need to have like a goal they're working towards their progress. So if I'm coming into middle school and I'm reading at a third or fourth grade level and I'm still at like a 740, okay, that's my reality, but I have to work towards it. The only way my Lexile is going to go up is if I continue to read and I use the program. So I think that's a good conversation you want to have with your students, especially now since we're like right in the middle of everything. Ask them, what's your Lexile score? What's your Lexile right now? And then look at where should it be for your grade level. Now, what is our plan to get your Lexile level at that point? Because some of this is going to have to be done at home. Like we're going to, just like you said, like we do Achieve 3000 at night. We're going to be reading at night. We need to have specific goals on how it is that we're going to get to where we need to be by the end of the grade level. So by the end of the 8th grade or the end of the 7th grade, where is it that I want to be? And I would even step back a little bit and say, there is a breakdown. Give me just a second and I can show you where it is. When you're talking about setting goals, don't wait till the end of the year to start setting the goals. I would say, okay, by Christmas time, where is it that I want my child to be? Or where is it that you want to be when you have that conversation? By spring break, where do you want your Lexile to be? You know, before you take the FSA, where do you want your Lexile to be? And then what are we going to do to make sure that we've achieved that goal? As far as the breakdown, because Achieve 3000 is so, it's used nationwide, you can literally just Google you can Google Achieve 3000 Lexile by grades, and there are like 50 charts that come up. There's a lot of charts, and that's usually what I do is I just Google it, and it's Achieve 3000 Lexile by grades. You're welcome. And there's, because different schools and different districts have used them in different ways, and they've made them really pretty, or they've just given you the basic printout, but just Google Achieve 3000 Lexile by grade, and it'll give you a breakdown of for every grade level where they should be. All right, so why do we use Achieve? And I'm glad that we have people in here who have used it, and they know that it's a proven method of that works. Is because you can see growth with your students. So thinking about the expected growth, like we expect our students to at least grow 72 Lexile points about a school year, but when they use Achieve 3000, the probability of that increases by 75%. This report is from 2016 and 17. We've been using the program since, I believe, 2015. I might be wrong, but it's been a long time, and it's now, 2021. So we've been using it for a long time. Our district has invested a lot of money in this program because it is a proven method to work. We have people from the program actually who come out to the schools, excuse me, and they do trainings with the teachers. They'll come in and show them exactly how to use it. They'll come into the classrooms and give them suggestions on ways that they can improve the effectiveness of the program. But we use it because it works. And remember, this is not just a Florida program. This is used nationwide. They just adapted for every state that they use it in. So I know Clay County was using it, I believe, like 2 years ago. I'm not sure if they're using it again. St. Johns County was using it before. So this is something that is proven, it works, and we're going to keep using it because our students, for the most part, enjoy it. Some of them may complain, but that's just students in general. But we use it because it works, and it's a great method for getting students involved in their own reading. All right, so the 5-step literacy routine, it's a very simple one. And this has changed just a little bit, and I'll tell you how it looks a little different, but for the most part, it's the same. So when the students log on to Achieve, they may select an article, or their teachers may assign them an article or have them search for an article. If you're doing this at home, allow your students to select whatever article it is that they want, because the one thing about it is they can't do an article again. So they can't be like, okay, well, I just did this one 2 days ago. My mom said do one, I'm going to do it again. It won't pop up for them. They have to do it. It's going to come up with a new one. So I would let them select an article they want to do. So the first thing they do is a before reading poll. The article comes up, but before the article comes up, there's a before reading poll, and it just asks them like their personal opinion about whatever the topic is. And it's usually a yes, a no, and then a why. So they'll have a question or a statement posed. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And then why? And they can type in their response. Then they read the article. This is one of the most important pieces of it because our students sometimes don't like reading, so they'll skim through it and skip to the questions. But as a parent, I would make sure my student is reading, and while they're reading, they're doing some activity. So there's pieces of Achieve 3000 that allows them to like take notes. They can highlight things, they can underline things. There's a lot of things they can do while they are reading. I would make sure my child is doing those things and they're not just reading. Because even as adults, when I read things like for a class or I read things for information, I can't read straight through it. I'm the kind of person where I'm going to highlight things, I'm going to underline, I'm going to circle things because I want to make sure that I retain that knowledge. They need to get in the practice of doing that same thing, but they can do it on the program itself. So have them, for every 2 or 3 paragraphs, give me some words that sum up what you just read about. Underline or highlight the important details. Ask them some comprehension questions. Okay, you read this whole article. Before you start answering the questions, let's talk about what was it about. Write down 2 sentences, whatever it is. But this has to be a joint effort where they know that you are going to be checking, because if they know that you're not checking, they're just going to skip to the questions. And they may be able to guess some of them right, but they're not going to guess them all right. So after they read the article, they're going to do the activity questions. And the activity questions they're comprehension questions. Remember, they look like the FSA questions that assess how well they comprehended the information from the text. And then they do the after reading poll, which is the same question from the before reading poll. It's just now that you've read this article about this information, did you change your opinion? Yes, no, or why? And then usually there's a thought question at the end of the article. This is the writing piece. So remember, Achieve 3000 is reading and writing. So they read something, they answer the questions, and then they're allowed to express their thoughts or their findings through like a short little essay. Sometimes it'll be like a paragraph, sometimes it may be multiple paragraphs, but they're able to work on their writing through the thought question. I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions about just the routine of Achieve 3000? Okay, perfect. All right, so in Achieve 3000, it's differentiation. So remember, your articles may look different depending on your Lexile score. So if all of us were in a class together, we're all going to score differently on our Lexile level. So some of us are going to be a little higher, some of us are going to be a little lower, and that's fine and that's normal. But I like Achieve 3000 because you get the article at your level. So you see how they have like a struggling reading article, an approaching grade level. So that's a student who's almost reading at grade level, a student who is at grade level, and then an exceeding grade level article. It's the same content, it's the same topic, and usually we like it because like if I'm a student, I can't look over at someone else's and be like, oh, they're reading below grade level. I can't tell that because the pictures look the same. I mean, unless I literally read their article, I'm not going to be able to tell that. So there's no reason for like one student to feel embarrassed about their article based on someone else's. But the level that it's written at is going to be at different levels. So my struggling readers articles, some of those words are going to be a little simpler. And then my add grade level or exceeding grade level words are going to be a little more complex. The paragraphs are going to be a little longer. The sentences are going to be a little longer. But at the end, we're all going to be able to have a discussion about the same topic in the same article because we all read about the same thing. Just remember, the struggling reader is going to be just smaller sentences. Maybe the words aren't going to be as complex. And then the exceeding reading grade level, or grade level, their article is going to be a little different because it's going to be higher. And so it just progressively gets a little more complex depending on how high your Lexile is. So there's a new format for Achieve 3000, thankfully. It's because our students were getting kind of bored with the old one. So this is how it looks now. So if you have not seen your child get on Achieve 3000, this is something you should be looking for. So they still have the article on the left side. We like it because now the questions are on the right side, so they can read and do the questions at the same time. So as they are answering the questions, they can easily go back to the article to find the answers. Before they had to toggle back and forth between one page and another page and like go back and forth, but now it's all on one page. So on the left side, they're going to have their article, and on the right side, they're going to have their questions, whatever the assignment is, and they can easily go back, copy and paste pieces, go back and reference things, go back and support their answer with evidence, and it's all on one page. So they made it a lot more user-friendly for the students to use. Again, everything now is on one page. And then this is the stretch article. So after the students have read the entire article, at the end, there's a stretch article, and it's the same article, but it's at the level that they should be depending on their grade level. So again, remember, I may be in an 8th grade, but reading at a 4th grade level, my article is going to be at a 4th grade. That stretch article is going to be at an 8th grade level. So again, it's just to stretch me to where I should be. And then this right here, I think if you want to take a quick screenshot of this page, you can, because this is the breakdown we were talking about when it comes to what grade levels they're at, and then their Lexile scores as to where they should be. So I'll give you just a second to either like take a quick snip of this or take a picture of it with your phone. So if you don't want to Google it, it's right there as far as the grade levels and then where they should be. All right, so again, we're just talking about Lexile growth related to frequency of use. No problem. So I'm not going to read all this to you. It simply just says the more you read, the higher your Lexile is. The more articles they do, the higher the Lexile goes up. So the way the program works is if your student does like 1 article a month, their Lexile will not move. If they do 0 articles a month, of course, their Lexile will not move. The goal is for them to do 40 articles a semester, which is 2 9-weeks, so 80 articles for the year. And if they do them how they should be doing them, like 2 in ELA, maybe 1 in science and 1 in social studies, they should meet that goal. But they have to do at least 4 per month for their article or their Lexiles to move. So if they don't do any articles, their Lexiles don't move. If they just do 3 articles, their Lexiles don't move. And how the program will work is months and months of them not doing articles, their Lexile drops, because that's really how it is. You don't read, your reading level drops, your proficiency level drops. So the more articles they read, the more questions they get correct, their Lexile level goes higher and higher. So just keep in mind that the more they do, the better they'll be at it. And then there's a career center, which I really like, because a lot of times students want to know, okay, well, this is my Lexile level right now. What can I do with this Lexile level? The career center allows them to look at their Lexile level, and it will tell them, okay, based on where you are right now, here are some careers that require this Lexile level. And I love for them to be able to see, like, oh, okay, well, my Lexile level is really low. There's not much I can do with this. So I love for them to be like, okay, well, if I want to be a dentist, what should my Lexile level be? Because that's the type of words that I'm going to be reading if I'm a dentist. When I think about like textbooks and, you know, the I don't even know what dentists use, but whatever their knowledge is. If I want to be a fireman, what should my Lexile level be at? So the Career Center is good just for motivation for students when it comes to this is where I want to be in life, but this is where my reading level should be. So let me work towards that goal. So I love the Career Center because it helps them create goals for them. And then they have 2 new additions to Achieve 3000. One of them is called the Boost program. So Achieve 3000 Boost gives students access to scaffolds and intense instruction around phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So what we found is we have a lot of students, especially in middle and high school, who still need help when it comes to just reading in general. Phonics is an issue for them. So Achieve 3000 has incorporated some boost strategies where it helps them with phonics. It helps them with the fluency. It helps them with learning new words and vocabulary. So it's simply not just let's read an article and do questions. It's going to give a lot of those struggling students the help they need when it comes to learning how to read. Like this example that I gave you here is it gives the students sentence starters for those thought questions. Like it says, explain why you voted the way you did. A lot of our students don't know how to start a sentence, so it gives them a starter. I disagree with the statement that blank because blank. So as a student, I'm like, okay, I love that it helped me out because now I can just fill in the blank. So these are scaffolds that teachers can turn on or off. Right now, they are turned on for every student. A teacher can turn it off if they don't want their students to have it, but it's just an optional thing for students if they know that if they want some extra help when it comes to fluency and when it comes to answering their questions. It's called Achieve 3000 Boost, and it literally is what it is. It just gives them a little more boost than they need when it comes to their reading. So that's something new that they've incorporated this school year. And then another thing they've incorporated is Word Studio. So Word Studio is very similar to Boost. It helps with the fluency. So it's a new collection of lessons designed to support secondary students who need to strengthen their foundational literacy skills. So in elementary school, they get a lot of help when it comes to like, this word is cat, hat, bat. In middle school, they don't get that help. So Word Studio is one of those programs that's going to help them with that. They have videos, they have like a little on-demand tutorial that will help them just with fluency, because we want to make sure that not only can our students read and comprehend and write. They have to do all of them. So there's no way I can ask a student to answer this question and make a comprehension, answer the comprehension question if they are struggling with the fluency part, meaning they cannot read the words. They first have to read the words in order to comprehend what it is they're saying. So Word Studio allows them, it gives them a lot of help with that. So we love that Achieve 3000 has incorporated. These are things that we've been asking for years. Like, okay, we've got some students who are still struggling, like they didn't get it in middle school or elementary school. They still need help in middle and high school when it comes to just the fluency part of reading. All right, this is another thing you may want to take a little screenshot of is how can I support? So remember that your students take a baseline, a mid-year, and a final level set. They've already taken the baseline assessment. They take the mid-year, literally just in the middle of the school year. Usually it's right before Christmas break. And at the end of the year, they take a final assessment. So if you're looking at where should my student be when it comes to these assessments, you're going to look at, like, let's say a sixth grader. If you want them to be on grade level, they should be at a 925 to a 1010. If I want them to be like an eighth grader to be and this is when they finish. So this is by the time they are ending their grade level. So an eighth grader, when you're walking out of eighth grade, you should be at a 1010 to 1185. And I like this because it tells you, okay, let's say that I'm a sixth grader and I'm at a 570. That shows that I'm below grade level. So that means, okay, a 570, the way to read this is looking at what's on grade level. A 570, that's a third grade level. And a lot of times our students need that reality check. Like, okay, you're in sixth grade, but you're reading at a third grade level. So let's start making some goals. Let's start putting in some work so that we can get you on grade level. So this is something else, if you want to take a screenshot, I think she just put it in the chat, I believe. So thank you so much for that. That this is something that a lot of teachers have posted on their walls. Schools have this blown up and they have it all around the schools or in their classrooms so that students always have this goal in mind. This is where I am and this is where I need to be by the end of the school year. And the kids who are on grade level and above grade level, especially like for those sixth and seventh graders, they love looking to see that, oh, wait, I read at the ninth grade level, or I read at a 10th grade level. They love bragging to their teachers and to their peers that they read way above grade level. All right, so if you want to help your child at home, this is our suggestion. We're looking at grades 6 and 8 and then 9 through 12. It's suggested that a 6th through 8th grader reads at least 45 minutes daily, and then a 9th or through 12th grader reads at least 60 minutes or 1 hour daily. So this, remember, can be any kind of reading. It could be a book for leisure, a book for school, something they see online, whatever it is, but keep in mind what we talked about before. If they never see you read, they're never going to read. So if they have like a Kindle app on their phone, if they have a tablet, whatever it is, they need to be reading daily to increase their reading level. So remember, 45 minutes for middle school, an hour for school. And then this is just thinking about their Lexile range. So there's a website called Lexile.com. It's Lexile.com, where you can put in what your student's Lexile score is, and then it gives you like a range. So like here it says, think about like 50 points below and 100 points above. That's pretty much your Lexile range. So this Lexile.com, I think it's the next slide. Yep, there it is, where you can put in whatever your child's Lexile score is, and you can select books based on your they'll give you books based on your student's Lexile score within that range. So if you just say, okay, my Lexile is 970, Lexile.com will give you a long list of books that are within your child's range. So if you have a student who's like, I don't know what I want to read, I don't care about reading, but I guess I'm going to read something because you told me to read something, Lexile.com, put in their Lexile score, and it'll give you a long list of a selection of books that they can pick from. Let them pick from it. It's like, okay, here are your choices. Let's go to the library. Let's see if Amazon has it, whatever it is, because it's in your range. We don't want them reading below their range because there's no point in that. And we don't want them to read above their range because they're going to struggle through it and they're going to give up. So we're going to make sure they're reading within their Lexile range. And remember, it's Lexile.com. And then here it is. Here's how it looks. You put in your Lexile, or you could put in your range, and then you could put in your grade level. and you can decide like how often. I find the books I read for school are difficult, or if they're just right, or they're too easy. They select that, and then Lexile.com will help them when it comes to finding the book. And then the last thing is this other website. It is called Just Take 20. And I'm going to show you. I think I have it pulled up here. It is, yes, it's called Just Take 20. And if you just Google Just Take 20, it's from the state of Florida. It's a whole website that is dedicated to reading strategies that you all can do at home to help your students when it comes to their reading scores. This is not Achieve 3000. This is just in general. What are some things that I can do to help my child when it comes to reading? It's called Just Take 20, and it's put on by the state of Florida. So this is a great resource to use if you're looking for things that you can do to help your child when it comes to reading. And that is the end of what I have. Does anyone have any questions?
My older child is a middle schooler in 6th grade, and she has a high Lexile. So she's asking that her school has a goal that she has to grow by 100 points. Is there a max on the Lexile?
There is a max in the Lexile. I believe it's 13 something. I'm not sure what the last two digits are, but it is 13 something. That's the college. They say that if you're reading at that you're like the college level. So, but what you don't want her to do is drop in her Lexile. So I would say for her goal, or for her, if she's at the highest that she can be, or she's at the highest, then your goal is to maintain the highest. Because a lot of students will be like, okay, well, I'm already there, then I don't have to do it anymore, I don't have to read anymore. But their Lexiles can drop. So if she's reached the top, or if it's really high, keep going. I believe it's I want to say 1385, but I could be wrong. But let them keep going. And then if they've reached the top, then your job is to maintain that, because it easily can drop. So we don't want them to drop at all.
I have a question. I actually typed it in the chat, but I figured out how to use my microphone.
Okay.
So question, I'm the one that I have a child in private school now.
Yes.
I do have an older student who's in high school, and it was a little bit of a bumpy transition from the private school into Achieve 3000. So now I'm trying to plan ahead with my younger child. That's why I'm asking about those questions.
No problem.
The actively learning, I just tried to take a look at the website real quick. I was just wondering, because I don't want to take up everybody's time, do you have contact information that I could call you if I have a question about the actively learning program?
I do. I just put my email address in the chat. That's the easiest way. My emails go straight to my phone. I have a phone, like an office phone, but I'm usually not in my office. I'm at schools. So I will respond to emails all day, every day. It goes straight to my phone. So please reach out to me. And whatever answer that I don't have, I will make sure that I find the answer. We're a small team, but we kind of work together to try to figure out some things. But we're only ELA in reading, so that's like our focus. So please reach out to me, and I can answer any questions about Actively Learn or Achieve.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. This has been exceptionally helpful. I kind of wish I had done this like before my other kids started high school. So
I'm glad you were able to get something out of it.
I have one more question.
No, go ahead.
It's elementary related. I'm not sure if you can respond. Does Achieve, if you do Achieve at home, does it count towards your score for elementary?
So every school has a different cutoff time. So I know like some middle schools have moved their cutoff time to 6 o'clock because a lot of students are in like sports or after school programs. I'm not sure. It really just depends on the school itself. Typically the schools will, if they don't have like after school programs, they'll cut off the part that counts at like 3 or 3:30 or whatever time the school ends. But you can still do Achieve. It's just the scores itself won't count for moving your Lexile score, because that's the program itself. They want it to be really just student focused or student answers. And there are some parents who will answer the questions for them. So that's what they want it to be like during school hours. They can still do it. It's just those scores will not count towards the Lexile growth.
Okay, but you still see the benefit that if they do it at home, that they're still growing in their reading and comprehension. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so
I mean, that's the goal eventually.
Yeah, make them do it at home. It just won't count. Like some teachers may not count. It just depends on the teacher because they are afraid that there are some parents who will do it at home. But a lot of schools have moved that time down to a lower, like to a 6 or 7, depending on because a lot of students stay after school now for, extended day or sports or team up, whatever it is. So yeah, you can definitely do it at home.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. If there are no more questions, I hope you all have a great rest of your evening and a great school year. Please reach out to me if you have any questions.